Broaddus is upset at this damn coaching search, man. I am too, ladies and gentlemen. I am too. And the low hanging fruit is the coordinators that was just on your team a couple years ago are both playing in the conference championship game. Like that's the low hanging fruit, and it happened fast too. Dan Quinn 1 year head coach and Kellen Moore 1 year coordinating or whatever. And we just up here like nonsense that you told me. You know what I'm saying? But hey,
no, it's all good. Yeah, right. It's unfortunate. It sounds like that Aaron Glenn is going to get the Jets job. It's unfortunate, that you don't even get the opportunity to interview some of these guys, even just talk to them, but we're going to sit there and kind of, just watch this thing. Just, it's to the point where, hell, I wish they wouldn't have changed coaches now.
Sure. Keep. And Ben Johnson's coaching in damn Chicago. Yeah. Just call Mike McCarthy back and just get this over with.
Yeah. Just say, to me, but listen, this is just my 2 cents. And I appreciate you allowing me the platform to do this. Just hire Jason Witten then. Just hire Jason Witten. If don't make somebody have to coach with Jason Witten as coach and waiting, if that's your plan. Yeah. If that is the ultimate, I have heard today, well, hey, Schottenhiemer, he's a legitimate head coach candidate. Well, no, Schottenhiemer might just be a play caller guy, maybe an OC, maybe Robert Saleh, maybe, this, that. I've heard so many different things today, so many different things. None of them had to do with Aaron Glenn. None of them had to do with Ben Johnson. Nothing had them to do with Pete Carroll. Nothing had to do, it was, Dave. I was talking to Jane Slater about this. And Jane's telling me, she's like, it's kind of funny about Kellen Moore. Does he really even want this job? I know he interviewed for it, but does he really want to come back to Dallas and have to deal with all this? Right. And, and I'm like, I don't know, Jane. I really don't know. And, because I'm sure if he's offered the job, we'll see. But listen, if you're going to hire Schottenhiemer, who the players absolutely love, by the way, boss, they, we got to remember where Brian Schottenhiemer came from. Mm-hmm. He came from the Ben McAdoo. Remember, Ben McAdoo was the help, Dan Quinn and those guys with breakdown stuff. Yeah. And then Ben McAdoo left, and then Brian Schottenhiemer took over the Ben McAdoo role. And I remember defensive players like talking about Brian Schottenhiemer in a very glowing way, he would like get in your face about, hey, this week, man, that Brown, he's going to run this route, or Hurts is going to do this, and you got to be ready for this. And, to the point where the defensive players were like, all right, bro, we get it. Yeah, we're good. But they had a lot of respect for the guy. And there's kind of a sense over there that maybe that the players are pushing for a Schottenheimer head coach, possibly because they like him, or they're making sure that he potentially could be the OC. So there's that push going on. But the defensive players respect him. The offensive players respect him. There's some talk that maybe, and this is not a sour grapes thing with Mike McCarthy out the door kind of a thing.
Sure.
But, Schottenheimer, did he have some ideas?
He probably wanted to call plays in his offense.
And wanted to do this and wanted to do that. And McCarthy's like, nah, bro, we're not doing that. Well, Zach Wolchuk said on the radio today something very interesting that I hadn't heard, that, all of a sudden that, after one of the games, after one of the losses, early in the season, McCarthy told Schottenheimer that, it's like, the San Francisco stuff, we might need to think about putting some of that stuff into our offense, or incorporating some of that, And I'm sure Schottenheimer looked at him and like, bro, I've been trying to do this for, umpteen years or games or whatever, trying to incorporate things. So I don't know. I'm to the point where if they hire Schottenheimer, great. If they hire Schottenheimer with the intent of making Jason Witten coach and waiting kind of guy, I'm not interested. I'm interested in, listen, just give Jason Witten the job then.
Yeah.
Give him the job. If you're probably, this team is probably going to lose a lot of free agents. The health of the team isn't great right now. You're probably not going to be able to recover from all the guys you're going to lose. You're not going to have enough picks. You're not going to spend money in free agency. You're probably going to be a bad football team again. You might as well just go ahead and just let Jason Witten see if he could do what Dan Campbell did with the Lions and take over a team that's probably a little down on talent and try and will it into some toughness and will it into some accountability and things that Witten would probably do. But if you're going to sit there and have a coach in waiting situation, man, I'm not interested in this. I am not. Just give him the job. If you want him to be a coach, just give him the job and let him put together a staff of, with Mike Zimmer and Schotty maybe calling the plays and, do that. By the way, Mike Zimmer, there's no guarantee Mike Zimmer's coming back here. Right. I'll tell you what, if Cincinnati Bengals were to call Mike Zimmer, and they have an opening at defensive coordinator now in Cincinnati, Mike Zimmer would be there tomorrow. Tomorrow. He ain't waiting around. Unless you give him the head coaching job here, he ain't waiting around for you. Yeah. But this is your possibility. If you want Jason Witten, then go ahead and just damn hire him. Yeah. Don't make it awkward for whoever the head coach is. We saw that with Wade Phillips and Jason Garrett. It brings, like, we need staff unity. We don't need pockets of dudes hanging out and talking about, well, this is effed up. Well, this is effed up. Well, I've lived through that crap. That doesn't work. Just hire Witten and live with it and hope that he could stand up there and bring accountability and put together a really, really good staff, and he could get guys to come and get, I was hearing, there was a guy, I had a guy tell me today, and I didn't even know this. I mean, I used to know this when I was working for, DallasCowboys.com and, or working in scouting. And I was asking this guy in the organization, I said, hey, is there anybody else on this staff? Like, I was thinking of the Al Harrises and guys like that. And this guy told me, he says, listen, hey, there's a secondary coach here named Christian Garcia. And I'm like, geez, I've never heard of this Christian Garcia.
I never know these.
And like, listen, yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's assistant defensive backs coach, Christian Garcia. Well, okay, work with Al Harris, but they brought him in. And this Christian Garcia, from what I know, is knowledgeable, good with the guys, straightforward. Could have allowed him to do more, but they really didn't do that. But there are people in the organization say this Christian Christian Garcia is a kind of a young and up and coming coach. Okay, well, maybe those are the kinds of guys you need to keep and have. Yeah. And maybe you build a staff with those types of guys that can coach their ass off, and the players respect and work hard for. So that's if you're going to do this, Jason Witten. Yeah. If you're going to make coaching waiting, I guarantee you it's not going to work. Just not going to work.
One last thing I want to say about this. I told you this.
I said too much. I'm sorry.
No, Brian. No. Trust me, because I had nothing on coaches, Brian. But one thing I will say, and I said this to you backstage, and I've kind of said this here and there on my channel before. In that draft where Mozzie was the guy, we had heard a lot of different things coming out of the GM, front office owner, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And we have great sources, Brian, like Michael Gelkin and James Slade. They're the best in the business. Yeah. And they stood 10 toes down. They said, well, if I had to guess 9 times out of 10, Michael Mayer is going to be the pick. Right. Yeah. And we got around the time Michael Mayer wasn't nowhere near the pick. We actually different people, Mozzie and the kid from Syracuse and at one time, and the tight end from Iowa. Yeah,
Bergeron,
as the tight end and all that. But I think sometimes that this organization can run some interference. I don't know why they run it. I don't know why we feel the need to put information out in front. I don't even, Bryan, look, I'm Voch, right? I'm just a dude with a camera and a microphone. I don't need to know that Jason Witten is a candidate. You know what I'm saying? Why do I know that Jason Witten is a candidate to come and possibly be a guy for Kellen Moore that could possibly be here? And Linda Wells might go coach offensive line now, so Jason Witten going to coach tight ends. I shouldn't even know this. Why do I? And not because you told me, but everybody knows this. Yeah. I kind of want this organization to button things up and shut their face sometimes, Bryan.
Hard to do, as you well know, with the owner. Yep. Hard to do. And I think you said backstage. I think you made a couple of really good points about maybe some deception.
Tell them what I said.
Is it deception, or is it the fact that they really are not sure which direction they're going to go?
Sure.
Because of the owner. Yeah. Is it natural deception because nobody's really sure?
Yeah.
And I just think it's unfortunate when you have a coaching search. To me, you go and try and find the best and the brightest.
Yeah.
You really do. You try. We laughed at the Jets and the Bears, and we laughed. Ultimately, the Bears got all the guys. It doesn't matter who the Bears now interview. They ultimately got their guy.
Yeah.
But they interviewed guys. I mean, they probably were thinking, as quick as the Ben Johnson thing went, maybe the Bears were just interviewing dudes to interview dudes. Just to buy themselves some time to make it look like they were really kind of working on something.
Sure.
But give them credit. They got their guy. Now, we'll see. The Cowboys, like I say, there's a pretty darn good possibility that you might not have a very good football team next year.
Yeah.
You're going to lose a lot of guys. Depending on what happens, and we mentioned with the health and all those things, there's a possibility. With the schedule you play, there's a possibility. Yeah. This thing might not be very good. So, we have to be ready for that. But I'm just the coaching search. I am so glad we are getting to talk about players and watch players and hopefully put this draft together the best we can, not only for the Dallas Cowboys, but for all the guys and gals that watch your and my show every night, and then the guys and gals that watch us work on the draft show. That's all I care about right now.
Bryan, I got a total of 79 players watched on my board, man. This thing's coming along nicely. I still got 12 first-round grades, Bryan Broaddus. That's currently where we at. Matthew Golden is my 12th one. So we still going to watch some players. We still going to figure this thing out. But, Bryan, we watch. Go ahead, please.
Absolutely. Real quick, if I could. It's funny. I watched Zay Alexander, the corner from LSU.
Yeah.
And I watched him, but I watched him against Ole Miss. I'm one of these guys that waits on film for the quarterbacks. I'm starting to kind of get all the film together that I need.
Sure.
I'm going to say one thing. This Jackson Dart,
I've been hearing about
the quarterback at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to studying this kid.
Okay.
I was watching LSU play Ole Miss, and I was watching this Jackson Dart throw the football. And I know that I've seen him on some TV games, but watching him on tape throw the football, he might be one of those guys that kind of sneaky comes up some draft boards when it's all said and done. Have you noticed that? Is there anybody you've watched kind of quarterback wise? You're like, okay, I got to watch him. And I'm not turning this into the quarterback show because we've got 3 players we have to talk about. Three players that we brought up. But I'm just curious, have you watched a Jackson Dart or some of these quarterbacks that we haven't talked about? It's not named Sanders or, any of those guys?
The Ohio State kid, the Penn State kid, I mean the last game from the Penn State kid, Aller, he had a terrible last game, but prior to that, I saw him kind of, dealing him out a little bit.
Yeah, you're watching the defense and they're throwing against him or you're watching offense.
I tell you if you can't get Josh Allen, if you can't get Josh Allen, this Riley Leonard kid, like his size and his mobility, and Bryan, let's just be honest here. We up here mad at that because he can't run no more. All the other quarterbacks can run around a little bit. So this kid here, Riley Leonard, that's on TV right now, let him run around and let him throw some passes off the run. I think a lot of teams are going to be looking for that because even like Bo Nix, right? I don't think we were wrong about Bo Nix. But I
I think I was, Voch. I think I was.
We weren't wrong about Bo Nix, Brian. No, Bo Nix
didn't
played
have him high enough. Didn't have him high enough.
Bo Nix played 9 years of damn college football. We had enough tape. We was right about the kid, but he used his mobility, and he's in a really good situation. It just works out for him. I think it depends on the situation for these guys. But I need another quarterback in that top 11 to help us out, though.
Yeah, no, I just was, because like I say, I was watching some corners, and Zay Alexander from LSU is in the mix. By the way, we're going to talk about a kid, and I talked to one of my gang of sevens about this cat.
Ooh.
And I know, we're going to talk about it in our today's show.
Okay.
We're going to talk about a cornerback in this draft. And I've got a little interesting report. When we're done talking about him, I want to tell you what this gang of seven GM told me about this player.
Would it happen to be the Florida State kid?
Yeah, go ahead with that, young man.
Azaria.
Azaria?
Azaria Thomas, Wanye's brother.
Yeah.
Florida State.
Yeah, there you go.
Tell you what, Brian, I see a pretty good athlete out of this kid, man.
You do. You absolutely do.
I see a really, sometimes he turns the wrong way, but he does turn and run really well.
He sure does.
You can see the arm length on him. Like, he can stand up and you can see them arms just kind of hanging a little bit. I think something that's very underrated, I'm going to start talking about corners, is like knee bend, right? I'm going to start talking about these corners.
Yeah.
These corners. And a lot of people don't talk about cornerback knee bend, but if you're standing straight up tall, you can't turn. But if you can really bend, then you can explode out of those breaks or whatnot. I think he's really good at that. I think he's going to make his money as a man cover corner. Bryan Broaddus. He's going to be a man cover guy, and a press man cover guy.
Right.
I seen him in zone. Sometimes he'll get a little lost, but I think as long as he gets to chase people around, I think he's good to go. He probably needs some more plays on the football, but I think that'll come with growth and improvement. He looks like he's learning how to play corner on the job or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But when he does get his hands on the football, it's like he's reading it perfect, and he drives down on it, and he uses length to bat the ball down when he does make a play. I just wanted to see some more plays on the football, and I wanted to see him not turn his back to the wide receiver so much. He would do that sometimes. I've seen him carry a wide receiver across the formation. You love that.
I love that.
Love that shit. And I think he's played against some pretty decent receivers too, Brian. So, just competition-wise, that's important, grading corners versus other corners or whatever, right? So Azaria Thomas from Florida State, he was in Dane Brugler's mock draft or whatever, so I guess he's one of Dane's top 64 guys. I got him. It's the hard part right here, bro. It's the hard part for me. I think
you're going through exactly what I was going through.
I think I like him. I like him enough to put him in the second because I think that there's growth there. I put him in the second, Brian, but I'm leaning third. But I feel like there's growth. There's growth there, so I'm putting him in there with those other press man guys, those other long arm press man guys.
I called a general manager buddy of mine on this kid because I'm just like you. I think you painted a picture of the kid extremely well, by the way.
Okay.
So let me go back. Let me tell you what I said about the kid.
Just say.
If I could. Yeah, I don't want to totally go over the top of everything you said because I think you got the kid right. But this kid right here, you mentioned he is a good-looking athlete, the long arm, the frame, the length. I think he runs well. I think he's got body control. I think he's got balance. I think he can be tough to get away from. I think he likes to contest passes. I really do. I think when you watch him cover, I was watching the Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
And Notre Dame, as you see, doesn't have great skill on the outside, but, he's covering these guys up. And I think like you watch him play, he can close some ground when he kind of gets out of position. There's some concerns I think about his ball skills. He's only had 2 interceptions in 3 years of play. But he's one of those corners when he's near the line of scrimmage, he kind of excels that way. So, like, he's got a little bit of a knack as a blitzer. He can make tackles near around the line of scrimmage. There's snaps where you do see him take some poor angles and put him out of position, but I do love his length. I love his aggressiveness. And I think he has a chance to help a team with the way he plays. You know, he's 6'2", he's 198 pounds. All right, here's the rub. I wasn't sure where to put him. Yeah. I mean, I ended up putting him in the second round. And I had him over some corners that I'd seen, like, you know, Porter from Iowa State, Amos from Ole Miss, had him below Will Johnson, you know, Michigan. We'll see how that all plays out. Sure. But I had him like as my 6th best corner on the board. Yeah. And I was kind of getting a little bit, it was one of those unsure moments in my life where I'm like, did I grade this kid too high? Did I put him up there? Do I, you know, and sometimes you're comfortable with the guy. Mm-hmm. I wasn't comfortable because I thought this guy was a better player than a 3rd round player. Mm-hmm. This general manager I talked to has him in the first. Has him the first round. And actually has him better than the guy I really love, which is Reville from East Carolina, who's injured right now. Wow. So this general manager, I'm like, hey, listen, this Thomas kid from Florida State, tell me about it. Oh, this, that, link, this, that, the other. I'm like, okay, where'd you put him? Because I was thinking he was going to tell me put him in the 3rd round, and I had him too high. Yeah. You know, I'm really grateful you said he's a 2nd round player, but you thought about him in the 3rd, because I thought about him as the 2nd all the way. Sure. And I was like, once he told me the 1st round, I ain't going to put him in the 1st. I ain't going to do that. But it made me think about how much these NFL teams value length.
Yes.
And ability to run. Yeah. Yeah. Because you know me, Voch, I love Reville from East Carolina. I love him as a player. Similar type of build, you know, but he's got the knee injury. Yep. But it made me feel better that I'm like, man, this guy's got traits. I can't put him in the 1st. But I knew I was trying to justify in my mind. I'm thinking, well, here, let me call one of my professional friends who's seen this kid live. Yeah. And he told me, he says, he's a 1st round player, Bryan. I'm like, oh, sheesh. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate the heads up on that. Oh, and by the way, asked 4 different general managers about where to play Mason Graham. Did I tell you this?
Did I tell you this? No, so you did.
I got in discussion with Jeff about this. Like, because I play him as a 1. You know, I had him as a 1, listed as a 1 technique on my board. 4 different general managers told me that they would play him. They say, hey, Bryan, he could play either, but we're going to have him on our board as a 3 technique is what we're going to have.
Because he gets a field, and you would want him versus the 1-on-1s instead of
there you go. There you go. Yeah. There you go. Now, this is what I had at one of my okay, this is let me read my notes real quick though. Like I say, I was talking, my guy followed back up with me on Thomas from, if I could just read the notes.
Please.
Guy goes, I like him a lot. He's a 1st round player, very good athlete, can play man, play press, play zone. More of a cover guy than a ball hawk. We talked about that, the lack of interceptions.
Sure.
Top level person. Love his length. So that's what the one general manager buddy of mine said. Okay. I asked him about Graham. I said, hey, listen, I got Graham playing. I think Graham can play both the 1 and the 3. I've got him on my board as a 1. So I was asking all my general manager buddies again. And my guy said, I watched him and I like him. I feel he could play both. I like him more as a power 3 technique. He reminds me a lot of Christian Watkins. Yeah. Really good player, plays really hard, and is super productive. All things we've said. Yeah. But this general manager buddy of mine says a power 3. So 320 pounds, not really, but can play both.
Yeah.
But more of these guys see him as a 3 technique. So if you're the Dallas Cowboys and somehow, some way he gets to you at 12, probably looking at him as a replacement for
Osa.
Then maybe a replacement for what you would have with Mozzie.
Or just sign Osa and play them both. That's what a good team would do.
But I know I took time there, but I wanted to kind of clear. Talking to these NFL guys that are watching these players on the road, and so hopefully it gives everybody a little bit of a better understanding where the league might think these guys are going to be.
No, Brian, that was awesome. My cornerback rankings right now is I got Siobhan Revelle, Benjamin Morrison, Will Johnson after Morrison. And
did you keep Hunter? Did you put Hunter at receiver? Or did you put him at corner?
I got him at corner, but I'll just I'll just move around and make caveats.
He's your number one corner, right?
He's my number one corner, and Barron is 2.
Okay, good for you. Good for you.
Barron is 2.
Yeah. Okay, if you could repeat what you just did one more time. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you as I always do.
Hunter and Barron 1 and 2. Siobhan Revelle and Benjamin Morrison 3 and 4. Will Johnson is 5 for me at this point, Brian.
Yeah.
And Brian, look, I'm really being a coward.
Yeah.
Because I want to put Thomas over Will. I want to put Thomas over Will. Because look, Brian, this is what I like, right? I always and you're gonna hate this. I always tell people, right, floor guy, ceiling guy. The best type of player is you can whoop ass right now.
Yeah.
And you got a ton of room to grow. I think that's what Thomas is, man. I think Will Johnson might be as good as he's gonna be right now. I think he's a high floor guy.
Yeah.
I think Will Johnson can play for you day one, but this is as good as he's gonna be. I think Thomas, he could play. He may have a little growing pains here and there. Yeah. But I think by year 3 and 4, that dude's gonna be a dude, bro.
I like what you're saying there. I've got Hunter, Revelle, Barron, Morrison in the first.
Okay.
So then Will Johnson would be somewhere like 16 or beyond, 17. Going back. I got Thomas behind him, Amos, Ole Miss, Porter, Iowa State. That's my second round.
Okay.
Harrison from Kentucky, and then this Alexander from LSU, another lengthy, long guy that I'm sure we're going to do a homework assignment on one day.
Yep.
I have him in the third. Those are my corners as we speak right now.
You have Porter over Harrison because of the length, right?
I do.
The size and length.
I've got. It seems like to me. Here's what we're doing nowadays for me, and you and I have kind of done this way. Our boards have fallen. Twitchy corners, maybe not twitchy corners. When you talk about guys with length.
Yep.
Johnson, Thomas, Amos, Porter, all second round guys on my board.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Twitchies, top, second round, more the guys with the length, with that kind of stuff.
Press man, Brian. This is a year for the press man guys. So they're stacked up in there. We was talking about the edges being kind of deep, but just look at my big board right now because I can look at it physically now, Brian. It's a lot of edge dudes bunched up together, and it's a lot of corners that's just kind of growing on this list. Offensive tackles, whatever. But I think corner is a position that I didn't think was going to be talked about this much. But I got a lot of second round corners, bro.
I do too.
Tell me about Porter from Iowa State, Darren Porter, the cornerback from Iowa State, Brian.
Yeah, let me circle back on that one. Porter,
big ass athlete, ain't he, Brian? 6'4",
6'4", 200 pounds.
Big old boy.
This big time athletic ability for his size. This kid was a wide receiver before becoming a corner. He's got the speed to carry the routes. You love when I talk about that, and it's true for this kid. Yeah. He made a touchdown saving tackle in the Iowa game on Johnson, the running back. They broke that thing out the left side. He's playing left corner. That thing goes to the defense's right up the sideline with Johnson, and my guy Porter fetched him from all the way across the field on the angle. Just showed you the type of effort, how important it was to him to make that play, and he got there. Rarely do you see this guy, but okay, first off, he plays a lot of tight press looks.
Yep.
He lines up on the outside. Rarely do you see him in the slot. He's only played there some this season. He's got a really smooth back pedal for somebody this tall. He's fluid in the hips. He could be a little leggy at the time due to the long legs. The transition can make it difficult to deal with some of the quicker receivers that he might have to play against.
Yeah.
but his recovery is impressive down the field. I think he plays with a burst. I think he knows how to come forward out of the zone. He plays well with the eyes in order to kind of see what's happening around him, and then he's able to go and make those plays. I saw him as a willing run defender. He showed up when asked to make tackles in the open field. I mentioned about Johnson from Iowa in that game, running him down and keeping him out of the end zone. He tends to go a little low on his technique on the tackling. I think he'll need a little work on that, but he's not afraid. Yeah. But the good ball skills, being a former receiver, he doesn't take much for him to find the ball and go get it. He had an interception in the Iowa game where he made a play that was pretty impressive. I think the length really helps him in the zone to knock down those fade routes. His length helps him with that. I might think of this kid as a safety, Voch, just to be honest with you, due to his range, his length, and his quickness and ability to cover ground. Yeah. Just because I saw that play against Johnson, I wonder if people are looking at a 6'4", 200-pound guy that can play with some range as potentially a safety. Need to ask my gang of 7 about Darren Porter from Iowa State being a potential safety guy. I think he's going to need to develop some overall strength. But man, he's in position a lot to show some upside for the position. So I do have him in the second round. I love the build. I love the desire to make plays, and the length is always super impressive when you're talking about these kids.
Bryan, just fantastic job breaking down the player. And if I could just and look, not even add to it because it's been said, but just one thing I want to emphasize here. I think, first of all, the size and length is impressive.
Yeah, it is.
And I think a team is going to draft him a little higher for the size and the length.
I agree.
He doesn't turn as well as some of these other guys, but I think he turns
little leggy. Yeah, you were telling.
He turns really well for 6'4", though.
Yes.
I wonder, Bryan, because we talk about this. Years ago, I was just breaking down different things and different stuff that you look for in these different corners, right? Mm-hmm. I was like, a man cover guy got to have different traits than a cover 3 guy than a cover 2 guy. That's how a guy that could get drafted in the 4th round, because he's a cover 3 corner, but he goes to a cover 3 team and turns into the best cornerback in football.
Right.
I think this dude got some cover 3 corner in him, Bryan. He plays a bunch of press man, and he turns
I like what you're doing. Yeah,
and he turns really well. But the report that you gave, in which I totally agree. Yeah, he's leggy, but he does have the catch up speed, right?
He does.
So Bryan, the best way to play him is to turn his back to turns back to the sideline, so he ain't got to turn as much. Yeah. And let him run as a cover 3 kind of guy. And if you want him playing safety, if you're a cover 3 team, he's a deep third kind of guy anyway. Yeah. And let him play the football as a lengthy dude. So I think the first thing we got to do to separate him from the rest of these guys is just acknowledge that he's not a man cover guy. He's not going to be a man cover guy. He plays a ton of man on film, and I think it's impressive the amount that he plays. But we'll just put that in his versatility bag. Bryan, I think he is a cover 3 corner. Let him play off people. Let him turn his back to the sideline, give him some help to the inside, and let that man play deep thirds all day. I think that's his bag, Bryan.
Boy, I'll tell you what, I think you got a vision for the player. I like what you did. Yeah. I like what you did with that. Yeah.
That's his bag. I got him in the 3rd round, though, because if I got to do all that for you, you can't be a 2nd round player. I want because all these other guys play everything, Bryan.
Gotcha.
But I think he can excel in that. He can excel in a cover 3 type system. So I got him in the 3rd. At the top of the 3rd, I got him over Hairston. Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky.
A little nickel corner, yeah.
But I do have a vision for Porter, and I do like him a lot. Great size, and I don't know if he's a Senior Bowl guy. Not positive. But it'll be great to see him just run around and be taller people. Also, too, Bryan Voch says this. I think he also has some capability to chase these tight ends around. We always talk about the problem that, the tight ends line up inside. So you can't put slot guys on them because they're small and the tight ends are so big. Right. I think with his ability to turn a little bit better than some of these other long leggy guys. Let him
Mhm.
chase tight ends around on the inside and play cover 3 on the outside.
I think you got a vision for the player. You and I think you probably have him in the right round. I'm going to keep him in the 2, because of my tall guys, my guys, my rangy players and stuff. But I like what you did with the player. I think you got a great idea about him.
And another tall player, bro. Some of these big ass kids, man. I was starting to think, man, damn, where all the ex receivers at? You know, we was going through the top of our first round. You know, Ted is one, but Luther and Emeka and Matthew, they aren't prototypical X guys. They ain't really got the size to be. They can line up there, but they're not X guys. Man, we started watching Savion Williams, bro. I said, okay, there's an X for you.
There's an X.
Alec Ayominor, that's go X for you right there.
There's an X, yeah.
Is day 2 where you find all the X's at, Brian?
Man, I'm looking because just looking at my board, I've kind of got Williams, Ayominor, Besh. Do you think Besh, TCU? Have you seen him yet? Have you looked at Besh?
I have TCU? Not, but he's on our list.
Okay, I know that we're going to have to talk about him. See, I've got Golden, I think, is a little bit more of a dual guy. I think Golden's a little bit more like what we get with McMillan, Arizona, Burton, Missouri, Abuka from Ohio State. I think Golden's in that mix. I think the second round might be these kind of these XC type of players, because you mentioned TCU, Stanford, TCU, and then I'm sure we're going to be talking about Higgins here from Jaden Higgins from Iowa State, I think is the next guy you're probably going to ask me about. So I kind of have those guys. I have Williams, Stanford, Besh, all in the second round. When I say Stanford, I mean the school. Ayominor. How do I say?
What's his name?
The Stanford wide receiver. Always going to mess this up.
Alec Ayominor.
Ayominor.
That's how I say it. Like Nick. Look, Nick Harris is going to say something totally different. But I say it like it's.
I say Stanford, and I hope people aren't thinking it's last name Stanford. Ayominor. I'll get that to roll. I swear I will.
I say it like I'm in France, though, Brian. That ain't his name.
Yeah,
for real,
exactly. Get a little French. Yeah, but I've got Besh in there too in the second. From TCU, I got 2 TCU kids in there, and then like I say, we're going to talk about this Higgins kid, who I have actually in the 3rd round, and you're probably going to tell me he's a 2nd round player.
I got him in Higgins. I got him in the 3 behind Xavier Restrepo. I got him behind Restrepo.
Okay, so you got like a really short slot and a really tall. But I'll tell you what, with Higgins, Higgins plays a lot in the slot.
They line him up in the slot. Hell yeah. Why they do that, bro? They play him in the slot. And look, honestly, to be fair, they play him in the slot because they want to get rid of the ball quick. And what he's really good at is shielding the ball from the defender with his body.
It's like watching an NBA dude play.
That's what he does.
Brian,
let me ask you this, though. Do you feel like he uses that and turns into a body catcher sometimes? Because when you watch some of these other X guys, they catch the ball while they shield. He body catches while they shield. You know what I'm saying? So I was kind of like,
I'll tell you what, though. He's one of the top players. If you look at the metrics, just what you said, because I was thinking, how many catches does this guy make? It seems like every catch he makes is contested.
Yep.
Every catch. And he'll body catch balls. And you're thinking, but you'll see him put his hands out, but like he will have dudes on his back and he will body catch.
He'll catch it.
And you're thinking like, but they can't get through him to get to the ball.
Yeah.
So
and Brian, that's my one knock on him, right?
Yeah.
I have a few knocks.
I got a bigger knock than that.
But
go ahead.
But with his shielding the ball, he's playing like big guy. But he's not but he's not playing like tall guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want him to play more like tall guy. Like when you watch, even if you watch Savion and McMillan, they'll go up and play catch radius with you. He'll catch the ball like right up in here and body you out a little bit, but he looks thin. He looks thin a little bit, bro. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. But what's your biggest gripe with him, though, Brian?
Guy can't run.
Oh, no, he can't run at all. He can't get off the line of scrimmage at all.
He can't run. And that's the thing about it is that's why you see so many when you watch him play, you see so many contested catches because he doesn't have the ability to really separate. And he's 6'4", he's 215 pounds. He transfers from Eastern Kentucky. He's got an amazing catch radius. Even though he's body catching balls, you do see him in a red zone. I mean, he'll make tight contested catches, and he's pretty good at this. But he is not going to run away from anybody. There's always guys with him. Yeah. That's just going to be his game. That you are going to draft a receiver that just doesn't run away. And Iowa State had a guy several years ago, the same kind of thing, and he's been very productive in the NFL, is Alan Lazard. Yep. I mean, Alan Lazard at Iowa State could not, I mean, they couldn't get him. I mean, he was open, but I mean, he couldn't run away from anybody.
Yep.
But this kid's stride kind of helps him get up the field when there's free access. He's going to push off to kind of get some separation at the top of the route. He's going to run crossing routes. He's going to run slants. He's going to run digs. He's not bad when he can play on the move, but that's it. He's got to be on that move. He'll surprise you with his run after catch. There were a couple of times where he was kind of dancing away from guys and knocking other ones down and getting some stuff, after the catch. So I don't think he's going to show the ability to always make people miss, or he's going to be a great rack receiver.
Right.
But he gets his share of first downs, man. My dude is doing all the gyrations for first downs a lot of times after plays. But this kid, as you mentioned, Voch, he had 138 snaps in the slot.
Yeah.
138 snaps for a 6'4", 215-pound guy, high IQ player. Find that space, get work through the secondary, be sure-handed. The Iowa game, he rips the ball out of the Iowa corner's hands. Basically, I mean, the Iowa corner's got an interception. He's like, nah, that's my ball. Yeah. So that's kind of the guy. There's some red zone clutch ability, but man, this kid is going to run likely a very slow 40 time at the combine. If he runs in Ames, Iowa, it's probably going to be in the high 4.5s, would be my guess.
Bryan, Jaden Higgins or Isaiah Bond from Texas?
I put Higgins over Bond in the third round. Yeah. I have Higgins over Bond, and I know Bond is a jet. He's the total opposite of what Jaden Higgins is, but he's also a shorter guy. Yeah. But in the third round, I put Bond underneath Higgins there in the third for me.
I still got Bond in the 4. I was just trying to make sure I'm not moving off Bond.
I know you're not.
I'm not moving off of Bond at all. Okay, Jaden Higgins, I got him in the third round after. Do you have him over the Miami kid? Xavier Restrepo?
I do just because of the height. But the Restrepo kid can play. I mean, he's a good player.
Yeah, routes matter,
and
he's
good.
Yeah,
he will route you up and he will make a play. But like I say, these shorter corners or shorter receivers give me a little pause. Yeah, little pause.
That's okay.
Little pause.
These big can't run receivers give me a lot of pause. I pause too with them. I pause a lot with them too. Pause.
Did you put
hell yeah, because look, I think there's a path for him. He can get away from people. So if he's little, at least he can separate. Yeah. I can work with separate. Like if I got a quarterback and I got I got a coach that's teaching timing, I can find a way to get him wide open and nobody will touch him. Everybody gonna be hanging on to Jaden Higgins' back.
My man Higgins will make every catch you throw to him, though, bro.
Yeah,
he'll make everyone.
With his body.
He leads the country in contested catches.
Of course, he can't run. I would too.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But I don't know, man. These 5'9" receivers, I don't know.
It could be tough.
I just can't bring myself to it sometimes. It's that old school mentality that I have.
Bryan, I sent you a list, man. We're gonna keep watching this list all week. Tomorrow, you have draft show. I'm not gonna be a part of it, but y'all please go watch it anyway. And we'll do a recap of draft show tomorrow, and we're gonna get back on these players Wednesday and Friday, Bryan. Because I think we have a pretty good group of guys, and most of these guys are Senior Bowl guys, Brian. And the Senior Bowl is right around the corner, and I want to be well equipped to break those guys down when I see them. You know.
Well, I already noticed there that Kylo sent out the message.
I laughed, but I didn't want to distract you because you said what y'all want to do. What y'all want to talk about?
Did your partner tell you? Did your partner tell you that?
Hey, man, you ain't lied to me not one time, man.
Yeah. All right, here's Wolchuk. Wolchuk wants to talk about maybe something with players from tonight's game. Would you rather JTT or Sawyer? Ibuka or Burden? Henderson or Junkins?
Y'all gonna have a hard time tonight, huh?
Lineman?
Y'all gonna have a hard time tomorrow. Hey, man.
I tell you, man.
Have a good time,
bro.
Have a good show, man. Now, if I was there, I'd have found a way. But
you'd be bitching up a storm right now.
No, have a good show.
How many we do? 3, 4? How many we done?
You know what I'm saying? You know.
I told you, man. I told you we are. Love you, Kyle, if you're listening.
Shouts out to my guy, Kyle, man. What offensive lineman would you like in round 2 if they go another position round? Oh, yeah. Oh, good. Oh, yeah.
Hey, you know what? I do like what he did there. Wolchuk can come up. Wolchuk knows how to put together a draft show.
So that's how the Wolchuk come with the
topics,
have.
Man. Who would you rather have? That's always a good one. Who would you rather have?
Wolchuk's going to be hosting some shows.
He will.
Senior Bowl or something. So
when Kyle and them go to the Senior Bowl. So hey, you're going to give me. I know you sent me that list, and here we are doing some stuff on there so we can let people. You have some dudes in mind that you want to talk about tomorrow?
Let's watch these 2 running backs. Let's watch Kyle Monunga from Rutgers.
Okay, the Rutgers running back. That'd be great.
And Jarquez Hunter from Auburn. Let's watch those 2 running backs, and we'll come in and talk about that, and we'll recap what y'all did on the draft show.
Okay, so we got Hunter from Rutgers, and then Hunter, from Auburn.
Yep.
And then Monunga from Rutgers. Then,
yes, sir.
And then we'll recap the draft show.
Show.
Sounds like a plan, boss man.
Yes, sir. And for y'all go in the comments, tell us what y'all thought about these tall, long arm characters today. And y'all be sure to have your homework tomorrow for when we break down Hunter and Monunga. All right. Y'all follow me at VOCHLONBARDI, and y'all be, because I'm trying to get paid on Twitter. And y'all be sure to tap in with BRY Brian. They still call you BRIAN. Like I don't know who that is, man. But his name is Brian, BRYAN Broaddus, and we'll be sure to catch y'all on the next time on the Doing All Right. All right, y'all hold down. Crown.